Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Find a living in fisheries. The UAS Fisheries Technology Program offers online study from anywhere in Alaska, plus labs and workshops in many Alaska towns.
Is most likely a chum.
Find your living without leaving where you are. Fisheries Technology from UAS.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us for this Sunday's edition of Alaska Weather on this second day of October 2016. On the channels here are for the show times of Alaska Weather: APB 5:30 p.m. KUAC 9.4, 5:30, 7:30 and 360 North, and 5 a.m. the following morning on Alaska Public Media. And the YouTube version is usually uploaded at least by 8 p.m. each evening. Satellite here shows front stalled out here through the interior, actually coming back to the southwest a little bit there, weakening along the entire stretch of the way, and on down into the eastern Gulf of Alaska, spread clouds in over the southeast coast today. The rain still back to the west, and low pressure there forming right off the coast of Kodiak Island, and that brought pretty gusty winds, especially from the northwest here, wrapping it back around, and a fair amount of rain, and another area of moisture there over the southwest part of the state, and some clearing in Norton Sound, but really cleared out nicely up here to the over the northeast areas, across the North Slope, and even the Arctic coast in areas. Kind of some low clouds and fog persisting there around the Barrow, Atwasook, Wainwright area, but that all improving during the afternoon hours. Meanwhile, out in the Bering Sea, not a whole lot going on. Kind of a weak system here coming in, pushing in toward the Pribilofs today, and another one back down to the southwest, right in this area here, spreading some moisture up toward Adak, and then some more moisture and developing systems farther out to the west. Otherwise, here on the chart, you can see trough areas of light rain, fog, and drizzle with that. Kick the winds up high enough for small craft advisories for the Pribilofs. Otherwise, less wind here over the southeast Bering Sea and the Aleutians, and even out to the west, not too bad. On the chart here is that low just off the coast of Kodiak, beginning to pull eastward here from where it was earlier today, but winds 25 to 40 miles an hour in gusts. Akiak on the southwest part of the island there had gusts to 65 miles per hour earlier today. With rain, Kodiak picked up about 7/10 of an inch during the afternoon alone today with that, so some good shot of rain in that area. Otherwise, areas of rain and showers across the southwest interior from the Alaska Peninsula, Bristol Bay, right up toward Norton Sound. About 1/10 to just under half an inch of rain falling in the last 24 hours across that zone. And then some light rain and showers along the main frontal boundary right through here, back up toward the northwest. Held together enough to keep it a little breezy there on the northwest coast. Wind speeds anywhere from 25, gusting 40 miles an hour from Kotzebue on up to Point Hope during the day today. Otherwise, less wind on the Arctic coast than what you saw yesterday, with a lot of sunshine up over the northeast. And we'll see for tonight, rain mixed to the coastline here at the Panhandle, especially down south. Should be all the way across Prince of Wales Island by late tonight, early tomorrow morning, as far north as possibly Elfin Cove. And dry conditions, though, for the North Gulf Coast, and whatever lingering showers will end here for the Kenai Peninsula and the valleys, kind of linger over the Copper River Basin. Also some showers back along the Alaska Range, possibly the Kuskokwim Valley. and another weak trough, that one coming up to the coast tonight that's back out farther to the west currently. That'll bring some showers, lower clouds, and maybe some light rain to the southwest coast on up to the Seward Peninsula. Otherwise stays fair up to the northeast there. Scattered showers rolling into the Pribilofs, and the system back out here to the west starting to organize and develop, especially this one here. This one will take off to the north late tonight and for tomorrow afternoon. That weakens into a trough right there. The other one deepens 986 millibars, pushes the front, gale force winds into the Bering Sea during the day tomorrow, and rain spreads to Atka Island by afternoon with a warm front, but higher pressure to the east of that thing makes for a pretty nice day with possibly some sunshine there for the eastern Aleutians, even the Pribilofs back in across the Alaska Peninsula and Bristol Bay. Skies clear out, probably look for a mostly sunny afternoon tomorrow for Kodiak Island with those northwest winds. Showers here, that system comes inland and really just gets stuck right about in this position. So mostly cloudy with showers here in the west, just isolated farther to the northeast there. Another nice day, Tanana Valley right up to the eastern north slope in the Brooks Range. Even the Arctic coast, you can see no gradient up there at all. So pretty light wind conditions. Scattered showers over the Noatak Valley to Point Lay, possibly Wainwright, and that's about it. Prince William Sound, light winds, light variable winds from Cook Inlet across the Sound, even into the North Gulf Coast here. Light variable winds in the forecast, and those marine forecasts with very slight gradient. This system here pushes rain and gale force winds into the southern areas of the Panhandle there. Off the south coast, got some gales out tomorrow. Rain spreading northward. Lighter amounts up toward Juneau and back toward Elfin Cove. Nothing in the forecast for Yakutat. Then on Tuesday, we'll see that starts to pull back to the southeast, or it pulls back to the southeast. It starts to pull back to the southeast tomorrow evening, and just left with mostly cloudy skies, maybe some clearing and isolated showers for the Panhandle, and light winds again. Light winds, mostly sunny skies here for much of the eastern interior, North Gulf Coast, south central Alaska, right on up to the Brooks Range there. A very weak trough skirting the eastern Arctic coast may kick off a few isolated rain or snow showers in that area, some of which might find their way down onto the north slope, right under the high center there. But that's about it, just variable clouds, light winds, maybe some lingering showers here over the west central interior in that area, but it'd be pretty light. And that first storm moves up to the north here. Actually, the low center just about goes due north, and the front weakens considerably here as it pushes to the northeast due to a stronger storm coming in toward the southwest of the Aleutians, pushing gale force winds and a good shot of rain into that area during the afternoon on Tuesday, with rain back into the picture for Adak by late in the afternoon. Otherwise, high pressure here controlling much of mainland Alaska and the Panhandle. For temperatures this afternoon, upper 40s and mid 50s, about sums it up here for the southeast coast, from 55 at AKwx to 52 in Juneau. Same thing at Yakutat. Upper 40s to lower 50s, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound. And that ranged from 54 Homer to 48 at Valdez. Kenai 50 degrees, Willow 47, 46 in Talkeetna. That 37 is at Gunsight, with a 45 over at McCarthy. Northway also had 45 this afternoon. Fairbanks up to 50, and then it drops back down to 41 at Tanana. Up to the north, 39 here at Fort Yukon, 46 at Bettles. Lower 30s there for the Brooks Range, and 40s for the North Slope with the sunshine there. We at Airfield, 45 degrees, upper 30s out along the coast, and where the low clouds and fog hung in most of the afternoon, right around freezing at both Atasuk and Wainwright, but back into the mid to upper 40s. Back to the southwest, Kotzebue 51 degrees today, or actually that's Daring 51, Kotzebue is at 43. Mid 40s across the south coast of the Seward Peninsula, 49 in McGrath, and gradually rise into the lower 50s on across the deltas, with 50 degrees even reported by St. Paul. Lower to mid 50s for the peninsula, out to the eastern Aleutians, all the way to Shemya. And the low forecast for tonight, Looks like teens and 20s up here. Coldest zone right here may drop to 9 above there at AKwx. Otherwise, mid to upper 20s for the north slope and the Arctic coast. On the east side, warmer 30s back here to the west and into the 40s some locations over the southwest interior. Mid 40s the Alaska Peninsula, 30s to lower 40s, south central Alaska and the Panhandle. For the highs tomorrow, look for 50s again across the southeast coast. Mid 50s possible over Bristol Bay tomorrow, as well as the Alaska Peninsula areas. Cooling into the 40s, Seward Peninsula into the 20s up over the northeast there. Mid 20s forecast highs. Fort Yukon up across the eastern north slope, milder back to the west. Looking at the flying weather for tomorrow morning, VFR eastern Arctic coast right down across most of the Copper River Basin. We'll have some marginal stuff here, western Prince William Sound. And a little bit to the north there, nothing really significant. Also some lingering here along the western Alaska Range. Otherwise, the southeast coast stays VFR. And then some IFR up here to the north from the Yukon Delta coast, back across to the Bering Strait. And actually not too bad out here over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, all VFR till you get out there to Adak and the IFR rolls in. And tomorrow afternoon, that kind of just dissipates there, and we're left with marginal VFR from Amchitka Island all the way to the Alaska Peninsula. That'd be areas of that, won't be solid. On up to the Pribilofs, VFR for the northern Bering Sea, St. Lawrence Island, and just a little bit of remaining marginal conditions from the western Alaska Range right up to the central Arctic coast. Otherwise, looking pretty good VFR-wise. Southeast coast, watch for that right along the coastline tomorrow afternoon. Otherwise, staying pretty good. And for AKwx and Adigan, another VFR flying day for both those passes coming up. Lake Clark and Merrill could be, well, it'll be mostly VFR. Same forecast for rainy, windy VFR, possibly becoming marginal. And Isabel VFR, Mentasta, same forecast. Tanita VFR, Portage VFR, Chilkoot and White, both VFR. Freezing levels, warm air aloft, again upper level high now up over the Arctic, so higher freezing levels up there, 6,000 feet right along the Arctic coast, and then about 4,000 feet here through the western interior, a little cooler to the east here at about 2,000, 2 to 4,000 across the Panhandle, and not much gradient out here over the Bering Sea at all. For the icing for tomorrow, not much to speak of, none over the interior expected. Alaska Peninsula, maybe some areas of light rain possible above about 6,000 feet. Maybe here is central Aleutians, more likely back to the west, and then above 6,000 feet here on the southeast coast with that system moving in from the southwest. And the upper level wind flow chart, there's that system right there. That's bringing the wind and rain into mainly the southern southeast coast. Otherwise, high pressure up over the Arctic. Northeast winds continue up there, and kind of a ridging situation here over the southeast Bering Sea, which keeps these systems out to the west. And 9,000 feet, we're looking at 35-knot winds there across Dixon Entrance and Prince of Wales Island. Much lighter up to the north, just 5 to 15. Light winds over the interior, ridge axis here along the west coast with northwesterlies at about 10. Picking up 35 knots there across the Iliamna Lake, Kamishak Bay, and 25 to 35 across Kodiak Island into the western Gulf. And then it swings around to the south and the other side of the ridge there, ahead of that stronger storm out over the western Bering Sea. 40 knots right up through here, dropping back to about 20 for the Pribilofs, 30 knots for Nikolsky. And for 3,000 feet, that same pattern, light winds, high pressure in the west, light winds, northwest flow over the eastern interior, just variable up through here. And the winds strongest there across the southern southeast coast. And Arctic coast looking pretty light and variable. For the turbulence, light to isolated moderate chop here from Kachemak Bay over to Iliamna Lake, down across Kodiak Island. Again, winds won't be as strong as today, of course. That below about 5,000 feet, and there could be some areas of light to isolated moderate chop also there over the southern Panhandle up the coastline to around Sitka. And with the stronger winds, look for moderate turbulence out over the far western Aleutians. And after the break, I'll be back to look at the marine forecasts.
Welcome to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snider, and joining us once again is our good friend Eric Stevens from GINA, the Geographic Information Network of Alaska. Thanks again for joining us, Eric. We really appreciate it, as always.
Happy to be here, Dave.
Thanks. And, you know, we're going to ask you some more satellite questions here, but, you know,
Okay.
since you're a regular guest, we're going to give you a riddle this time, kind of a trick start to the show.
Okay.
How do you see a polar bear in a snowstorm?
Sounds like a challenging question because
Okay.
the polar bear is white and the snowstorm's white.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Well, in the world of satellite meteorology, you couldn't, because the spatial resolution of this instrument that we're going to talk about today has 375 meters resolution, and even the most well-fed polar bear will not be 375 meters across.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to run into such a
No, it'd be a
creature,
bad day.
would you? In the satellite meteorology world, the equivalent would be, how do you tell the difference between clouds and then an area that has no clouds but's covered by snow,
Right.
a piece of ocean that has no clouds but has sea ice? All three of these are white. The snow, the clouds, the sea ice, it's all white. So how, using satellite data, can you tell someone where the clouds are and where the clear areas are? This is important for aviators. Mariners want to know, in the ocean there, this white stuff, is that sea ice or is that just a cloud? How do we tell the difference? And it turns out, if you look, say, at a picture of Alaska from the springtime, March or April, and it's high noon, so we're getting a lot of sunshine. If you were riding on a satellite with your human eye, look down, everything's white.
Right.
And we've got a picture of Alaska from early April, and we're seeing some of the lower elevations in south central Alaska are melting out, getting some brown ground there, but otherwise there's a whole lot of white on the image. What areas are cloudy, but what areas are clear and covered by snow or ice? It turns out that if we leave the visible spectrum behind a little bit. See, a satellite has multiple channels in the electromagnetic spectrum that it can look at. Part of that's visible light, what we see as humans, but there's a lot going on at other wavelengths. If we add in something that's called near infrared, what we couldn't quite see, but we're getting into that infrared territory, there's a magical property that we can exploit.
Secrets to find.
Oh yeah. This is actually powerful and almost magical, that at a slightly longer wavelength, when the sun shines down on Alaska and then it bounces off back to the satellite, at that near infrared wavelength, it turns out that snow and ice will absorb that wavelength, but liquid water, like liquid droplets in a cloud, will reflect it back. And that's not the way it works in visible. You know, visible, it just bounces off of all those targets the same. But at near infrared, snow and ice absorbs it, and the liquid will reflect it back. Liquid cloud droplets will do that. And so an image where everything looks white suddenly becomes colorful. And the way this recipe works is that the clouds look pink, and the snow-covered ground and the ice-covered ocean look blue. Suddenly now, we're able to see the polar bear in the snowstorm. We're able to see where the clouds are and where the snow is and where the ice is. This is a powerful advantage. Consider the case zooming into the Bering Strait area. What if you were asked to brief a pilot who wanted to fly, say, from Kotzebue down to Savunga or Gamble and had to fly VFR, visual flight rules, so they had to stay out of the clouds? Could you use a satellite image where everything is white to provide that pilot any guidance?
It'd be pretty tricky.
Very tricky. And that's why we have to go to this other recipe where the all-white polar bear in the snowstorm becomes more colorful. And now we can tell the pilot, aha, this is a cloud you want to stay out of, but over here, sure, it looks white in the visible spectrum, but what we're doing, we'll show you, oh, this is just snow-covered ground, but it's clear, so you can fly right through there, visual flight rules. Same thing for a mariner who might want to get down to St. Lawrence Island, say, but has to avoid the sea ice. This product has applicability there as well.
Wonderful.
It's an amazing new technology, so many new channels. The satellite that makes this imagery actually has 22 different channels that it looks at.
22 secret decoder rings.
22 secret decoder rings.
Okay. You know, I liken this to an activity I had in the car when I was growing up. We'd go on long car rides, and we'd do all the work in these activity books to, you know, stay calm, cool, and collected for our parents who were trying to get us across the state. But to get the answer, the real answer, you had to apply that red sheet to see the answer or the secret path or whatever the message was in that activity book to get you onto the next next page. And it's also like a photography filter, right? If you're taking a lot of pictures, you can apply different colors to see different parts of that image. I mean, that sounds a lot like what you're talking about.
Oh, you know it. The information is in there all along. We just have to combine the channels in a way to reveal what's in there. And by the way, you're dating yourself. So you didn't have an iPad in the back of the car?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, we have, lastly, for dessert.
Okay.
There's a great image of the same kind of recipe. We're looking at South Central Alaska the first week of January. In first week of January, the sun, even at noon, is really low on the horizon, barely up. And in this image, the fun thing is the shadow of Denali. We can see the shadow of Denali over a lower pink cloud deck.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And Denali at 20,000 feet casts a big shadow. So this is another, just for fun, kind of application here. This is called multispectral satellite imagery, and it's the future. And happily, the future is now.
Oh, that is fascinating. And 22 different secrets that can be revealed from just one satellite tool that's floating overhead. Eric, thanks so much for joining us again. We can't wait to have you back and telling us more secrets of satellite technology that are passing over us every single day, many times a day, over Alaska and helping us all the way in many different parts of our lives. So thanks so much for joining us again.
Well, happy to be here.
All right. And thank you for staying with us. We'll be back with a little more weather here in just a few minutes. And of course, we'll have more Alaska weather facts anytime online.
Welcome back. Looking at the coastal forecast here, gales coming on to the southeast coast here. East-southeasterlies 35 knots. For the southern areas, they'll seas up to 15 feet. Up to the north, much lighter, turning northeast at 25, and then down to the north at 15 knots with just 8-foot seas on the north coast. Northerly Canal looking at northerlies at about 20, becoming northeast at the same speed for Stevens Passage. And Clarence Strait, winds will be right out of the east at 30 knots with 7-foot seas. And then for Tuesday, lighter and more northerly, just about north everywhere here over the inside waters, 15 to 20 knots down to the south, and then picking up to 20 knots there, Frederick Sound and Stevens Passage. Small craft advisories in the forecast there for northern Lynn Canal. Out along the coast, though, pretty light winds, north-northeasterlies at 15. And the seas down to 6 to 7 feet. We've got 20 knots out, small craft advisory here on the south coast due to those 9-foot seas. And then Prince William Sound, Cook Inlet, light variable winds to the north-northeast at about 10 knots with slight seas. Light variable conditions here for the North Gulf Coast with 5 to 6-foot seas. Then we've got small craft advisories coming out of Kamishak Bay and blowing across the Barrens. Also down here along the east side of Kodiak Island, while Shelikof Strait is more westerly at about 20 knots with seas running 5 feet in that zone. And that drops off the next day there down to 15 knots, 20 knots along the east side of Kodiak. And northwesterlies at 20 knots with 5 to 6-foot seas for the Barren Islands up into Kamishak Bay. North of there, Cook Inlet, pretty light, north 10 knots, light seas, same thing for Prince William Sound. And a couple of real light wind days coming up for the North Gulf Coast there. For Bristol Bay tomorrow, westerlies at about 15. We've still got some small craft advisories here southwest of Kodiak Island from Castle Cape up to Sitkinak. Now be mostly in that eastern area there as they drop back, and you can see here becoming westerly at about 15 for the Alaska Peninsula. And the outlook for Tuesday, southerly 15 to 20 knots for most of the peninsula, seas up to 6 feet there. Really light winds now, high pressure Bristol Bay, westerlies at 15 from Sitkinak out to Castle Cape. And for the Aleutians, south to southwest 15 to 20 for the eastern areas, and we've got small craft advisories for southerly winds. For the central Aleutians, up to 30 knots here, 8 to 10-foot seas, and then gales, Adak all the way out to Shemya from the southwest. For Tuesday, those turn southeast, 35 in the afternoon as that next big storm approaches. Otherwise, small craft advisory southerlies for just about all of the remainder of the Aleutians. Here a little lighter on the south side of the Fox Islands. Seas running anywhere from 7 to 10 feet through here, and of course heavier out to the west. For the southwest coast, south of Nunivak Island, west winds at 15, southerlies at 20 for the Pribilofs, and small craft advisories for St. Matthew Island, mostly western part of that zone, south 25 for St. Lawrence Island. And then for Tuesday, southeasterlies here in Nunivak Island up to St. Lawrence Island there, 25-knot winds, even a little stronger here from the northern Bering Sea, becoming southerly at about 30 for the Pribilofs. Excuse me, up along the eastern Arctic coast, winds all east, 15 to 20 knots there along the eastern Beaufort Sea, and light westerlies or variable conditions there for the west side, south to southeast at about 15 here from Wales to Cape Beaufort. And then for Tuesday, pretty light winds continue here, east-southeast 10 to 15, and westerlies at about 10. Northwest 15 there for the central coast. That's about where the strongest winds will be. Otherwise, light breeze from the west. Excuse me. And again tonight, rain moving on to the southeast coast. Scattered showers, Copper River Basin stays clear. Up to the northeast there, allow those temperatures to drop down possibly below 10 degrees there in the Brooks Range, but milder and showery with clouds back to the southwest. A weak trough right through here coming on shore and weakening. Higher pressure basically holding here through this area, but it's going to have a lot of moisture stuck under the ridge there with some mostly cloudy skies and showers continuing. Bigger storm here into the western Bering Sea. Nice conditions off to the east, rain and wind, southern panhandle, and that moves out for a nicer day on Tuesday. Pretty good conditions across all of interior Alaska, and then big storm comes into the southwest Bering Sea, and again that'll spread mostly just rain and then increasing the winds toward the central Aleutians, but definitely some gales making the picture out there in the west, at least by afternoon, while this system weakens considerably and spreads some wind and rain in toward the Pribilofs, again with those 30-knot southerlies. No precipitation up to the north.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
My job is to find a way to say something really essential so that you come out of your car or you take out your earphones and you know a little bit more about what's happening around you. Welcome to Alaska Edition. I'm your host, Zachariah Hughes. My favorite part of my job is seeing these new things and getting to spend a big chunk of time pulling in numbers and a bunch of sound from different places and making a mess. And then at the end, having this neat, clean radio story that takes you someplace else.